life is all about. Here we go. And see, Apostle, this. The beauty of a baby. It's like we keep giving message after message. We're doing vision, and it's like somebody has the attention of our children more than us. And it's hurting.
Praise the Lord, beloved. We thank you for you joining us with the Love Your Neighbor Show. I am Apostle Natha, and we're here with a special guest today that's going to share the value of becoming wealthy and knowing how to arrive to that place in life that many want to reach. But in that journey, showing how loving his neighbor has always been his foundation. From a child, not taught, but embedded in his heart, in his spirit. And so we're going to hear from this great man of God who has befriended myself through another friend. And his story goes on and on. So, with no further ado, I introduce to you my friend, Garfield Anderson.
Is it okay if I refer to myself as Gard? All right.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we on camera 2 here now.
All right.
So you can look at me, and whenever you want to look at the camera, you can. All
Okay.
right. And I just
To me, I feel like I'm talking to you anyway.
I'll
So.
just cut that part out. Well, I might let it play,
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. So Garfield,
Yes.
or Gard,
Thanks.
tell us a little bit about yourself as growing up as a child. What was your goal, your vision in life? What did you want to become or accomplish when you were young?
Mostly I wanted to take my place in the world. I lived in a time when the American dream was alive and active. So if you worked hard and studied, did all those things, you could expect to succeed. But I grew up in a household where love wasn't a subject. It just wasn't an issue. There was some bigotry in my parents' household. I didn't understand that. I didn't respect it. I chose a new set of values for myself. Mm-hmm. And found that to be lonely but worthwhile. And basically, from the time I went into this, when I entered the service is when I really got exposed to a whole series of things. I went in 1960.
Well, before you even went to the service,
Yes.
that dream that you had as a child, because see, we get dreams 4, 5, 6 years old. And God put this in us to accomplish certain things in life. And so, in our previous conversation, you said you wanted to be very, in other words,
I was seeking success.
as being very, I'm going to let you say it.
Well,
Begins with a W.
I think you're hinting at wealthy, yes.
Very wealthy, right.
All right.
Now, and that is a dream, not just to say I'm wealthy, but a level of success that you can really be able to comfortably live and be a great asset in society.
Okay. As a youngster, I discovered money had a whole series of different values.
Uh-huh.
When I didn't have enough, it was all obsessive. When I had just enough to clear my expenses, I could breathe, but didn't have much flexibility.
Okay.
The important part was getting to the point where I could buy my freedom. When I got to the point where I had enough money that I didn't have to work for some period of time. That's how I measured wealth at that point in time.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Now let's look at a couple of things here. In our previous conversation, one of the things that you said was, and this is very important, that your relationship with your dad, was it loving or was it a lack of love? Because we talk about loving our neighbor. In the first place, love is in the home. It's got to start in the home.
I did not see much love in my parents' home. I just didn't. My mother was very submissive to a very dominant father.
Okay.
And I never heard my father say the word love until he was dying. And he was in his 80s. My mother once in a while would ask, well, do you love me? If I didn't, you'd know about it. And it'd be a peck on the cheek as they and it left east to go to work and that sort of thing, but never anything more than that. It made me crave relationships, closeness. It made me, I had exposure to other people's homes. I saw a different kind of love. I saw a different kind of affection between family members. I wanted that. It became kind of an obsession with me.
Okay.
And my early experiments in that didn't all work out well. I was fascinated by young ladies in my neighborhood, and I discovered very quickly that not all of them were interested.
And that's understandable. We can't understand that one as young men.
Okay, looking back on it, one of the things I discovered was what I considered to be the conundrum of love.
Okay.
That means to me, I had love I wanted to give, but it didn't work unless I found somebody that needed to receive it.
All right. So you had love you wanted to give.
Yes.
But
and
you wanted to be given to
I
someone
got turned
else.
down a number of times, like a salesman peddling something door to door.
Okay.
It-
So they didn't receive your love.
Yes, and I'm not too sure which is the greater gift when I look back on it. To me, it's been very important to feel like I have loved and that I've been loved.
Okay. Say it again.
It was
That you-
important to me to feel like I have loved and have been loved
That you have loved
and
that you've
been loved. Yes,
Ah. So
I
they go
invested-
hand in hand.
I invested a lot of time and energy in both.
Okay.
And,
good.
Not all of it successful, but I did get to the point where I look back now and I have had a lot of both.
Now let's look at that point.
Sure.
Okay, starting out as a young person, you shared that you had a mind, an entrepreneur mind, that you
Yes.
you wanted to reach this
Yes, I did.
goal of being wealthy. So you started a business at 13. What was that business?
I had paper routes. I had I mowed lawns. I shoveled walks. I babysat. Anything that I could make a few dollars with. I even collected empty bottles. You could turn them in for 3 cents a bottle.
So you were already just rolling with
Was-
ideas and strategies to work, to make money.
Yes, but it wasn't. I wasn't thinking about wealth at that point in time. I was just
Okay.
thinking, this is a neat way to utilize my time.
Okay.
Other kids were. I played some ball in the sandlots, and I did some of those things, but I wasn't obsessed with athletics. But I was fascinated with the freedom money gave me.
Okay.
If I wanted to go to a movie on Saturday, I could. A quarter would get you into a
All right.
movie at that time, and another dime would buy popcorn and so on.
All right.
But to know I could do that, I had it.
So, and that was because not your dad gave you allowance,
Oh,
your
no.
mom,
No, no, there
but
was-
because you started out with these ideas of how I can make some money
Yes.
and do some things that I want to do as a young person. Now, you told me about a story about when you started your lawn business, you was getting so many customers that you started hiring the other, and you was only 13, and you started hiring other young people to work for you to cut grass.
I did that, and I was proud of that.
All right.
But when my father caught me paying the other kids that were working for me,
Other children?
he ground it to a screeching halt. He said, "That's wrong." I found kids were willing to do the work for less than I was being paid.
All right.
Which
So you
is-
was a businessman. You
Yes.
was the owner there, the proprietor.
And I also learned some other hard lessons, and that is, it wasn't enough to hire somebody else to do the work I had sold, but I had to be there to make sure it got done to the standards I knew that customer wanted.
So
That was
you weren't just in it for the money. You was in it to make sure that the customers were pleased, and you had given them your word that they would get
yes, but it was also a way for me to earn love and respect in my neighborhood.
love and respect.
Yes, both were important.
Two powerful words.
Well, they were to me.
Yes.
Those that are still alive still treat me with a lot of love and respect. Not very many of them still alive, but anyhow, yes. But my father considered that to be wrong, exploiting other kids in the neighborhood.
So he thought you hiring other children to work for you, and you would pay them from the overhead that you got from the customers,
Yes.
he thought that was wrong.
Yes, he did.
Okay, now hold that thought. Because when you became 16, you started, you was working in a hardware store.
Yes.
And at this time, you became the head person in charge because the owner had to go away and take care of his son that was in a car accident. Am I
Yes.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
So being the person in charge, you begin to have to deal with other businessmen that gave you some other ideas and strategies on how to get to this wealth goal that you had as a dream as a young person.
Yes. But the truth was, I didn't want to lose the job.
You didn't want to lose the job.
Right. The owner was gone, and he told me, lock it up if people stop coming. We'll start running out of the favorite things in the store.
Okay.
Okay? I didn't need my paycheck that bad, so I just kept the money in the till, and I bought replacements for the stuff we ran out of.
All right.
It
So,
seemed like a logical thing to do as a kid, and
as a young person.
I made some mistakes in the process, some spectacular mistakes. But it was a good lesson in business, and it was a good lesson in understanding the needs of customers.
Now, I need you to hear that part. Understanding the needs of the customers.
Yes.
Not the needs of the proprietor, not the needs of the employees, but the needs of the customer. That sounds like a message of love to me.
Thank you for recognizing it. It was critical to succeeding at all.
Okay.
I don't think any merchant ever succeeds unless his customer base respects him and wants to be part of keeping that going. We all have the choice of going to big box stores, that sort of thing. I choose not to most of the time. I choose to deal with local merchants.
Local merchants.
Yes, and I always remind them how much I enjoy the fact that they know me by name and that I'm greeted when I come in. Now, maybe this is being an old character, but it means something to me, and it has all through my life in anything I use as an enterprise.
So now we're going to talk about that point when you just said character,
Yep.
because that's one of my last questions, last question about how your character came into play. So now looking at the story that you shared with me earlier about situation on the bus. Now we're talking about loving our neighbor, and as you said, your father was, he wasn't very
It's fair to call him.
outgoing when it came to other
That's
races.
true, but it's also fair to say he was bigoted,
Bigoted.
and I'm not proud
Okay.
of that. I wish I could
and-
change that about history,
Now
but
our
I
young
can't.
people don't know what bigoted means these days. So explain what bigoted means.
Intolerance for people who are different.
Different as in, because you got a lot of difference.
Okay.
So what specifically difference were you talking about?
Color was one of those.
Color. What color?
For
More
us,
precisely.
for us, it was black or people of color
It
at that
was
time.
black people, right? Okay.
Yep.
So your father had issues with blacks, and he didn't embrace them, and he taught you to stay away from them. But when you got, you was on the bus. Tell us that story about the bus situation.
I was in the service at that time. I was in Navy,
Okay.
and I was stationed in Memphis, and I'd made a trip into town and rode a bus, and coming back out of town, back to Millington, where the base was, I got up to give my seat to a pregnant black woman.
You got up
Stood up
as a white man.
and offered my chair.
Off of your seat. Now, around what year was this?
I mean, 1960,
1960. It sounds
Yep.
like time close to the bus boycott.
all of that.
All right. Okay.
And the school problems. And I was in the heart of that. As a kid growing up here in the Midwest, we were fairly insulated from that. Or at least I was, led a sheltered life. Down there, Selma and all of that was breaking loose. Martin Luther King was starting to speak down there. The marches were underway. The school segregation was underway. The idea that there were drinking fountains that said colored only or white only, that restaurants would have signs saying no blacks allowed. At that time they called it colored. Political correctness has changed, I guess, for the language, but I still feel a little bit awkward saying black, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter. To me, they were just just people. When I got up to give my seat to this woman, inside the bus there was a ring painted around the inside of it. The ones to the front of that ring were for white seats. Behind that were for blacks. Not a lot of white people rode the buses in 1960 down there.
Okay.
But the black section would generally be very filled.
All right.
Okay. This woman stood holding a strap hanging from a rail in the ceiling right next to me. It wasn't pretty obvious. At eye level, I'm staring at her baby bump.
Okay.
And it's pretty prominent. I got up, I thought, being gallant and a nice young man, and offered her my seat.
All right.
She mildly protested, but she really wanted to be able to sit down. She sat down. Bus driver pulled the bus over to the curb, came back there, picked me up by the scruff of the neck and the back of my belt, and threw me headlong off the bus.
Wow.
We don't do that up here. That's all there was said to it. So, yeah, I got some bruises and some road rash from it, but it also was an interesting lesson, a lesson I never quite forgot. It was unjust, it was wrong.
But you were showing love to your neighbor by giving up your seat as a white person to a black pregnant woman, and the white bus driver said that's not how we treat blacks.
That's right.
And so he threw you off the bus.
Yes.
He didn't throw the black lady off the bus.
I don't know what happened.
threw
I
you
lost track of what happened to her. It's having being carried to the front of the bus and tossed out an open door.
Wow. Now, I haven't heard that story ever before, so you got one. That's a good one. Now, going forward in your dream, a vision of becoming wealthy, you dug some oil wells.
Yes. I studied biographies of people in this area who had become very successful. One of those was J. Paul Getty. He grew up in St. Paul, and he made a lot of money in oil. In my impatience to, I didn't call it wealthy back then, but be successful. Okay. Successful was the issue to me. Okay, I figured he could do that, I could do it. Oil had been discovered in Williston Basin in North Dakota. I went up there to buy oil and gas leases.
Okay.
I got thrown out of there like a, I was definitely wet behind the ears and didn't know the jargon, anything else, out. I roamed around the country finding other places where oil had been found. There was oil being found in Ohio. Ultimately, I found a place in Kentucky where they were drilling for oil, and it was what the slang term for it was light sweet, meaning it looked like the oil you pour into a car. Williston looked like tar. It was heavy black, stunk like crazy. But anyhow, I drilled three holes in Kentucky, and we found oil in two of the holes. Couldn't sell it.
Wow.
I had no clue that was going to be an issue. I thought it was brilliant. I found a piece of land that I could get a lease on, and it producing wells on three sides of it. How could I lose?
How could you?
As an entrepreneur, I split that piece of land into two pieces. I kept one for myself, and I raised money through a group of investors to drill on the other half.
Okay.
Back then, oil was selling for $3 a barrel, government regulated. Silver was $1 an ounce. Gold was $35 an ounce. Government had tight regulations on all of it. Problem was, the only company in that area that was buying oil for a refinery was a company called Ashland Oil. They didn't have an outlet for additional oil, so they weren't interested in buying any oil. Okay. I had to go back to the same, in that area, they called it something different, but call it the county seat here, and apply for a permit to plug the wells. I walk in there, and the guy said, "Oh yeah, I remember you. 831, 832, 833. What's that?" That's the permit numbers for plugging the wells. Wait a minute, you're the guy that sold me the permit to drill in the first place. He said, "Yeah, we get a lot of guys like you down here."
Wow. Business learning experience, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now look at this other story that you shared with me in buying this mansion.
Okay. I got out of the service, out of the active duty part of service, and I was ready to go to college. I pretty much understood it was going to be my responsibility to pay my way through school.
Okay.
And I had a couple of small scholarships that made it possible for me to choose between the University of Minnesota or Macalester College. Macalester wanted the statistics of scholarships. I came back in the middle of the year. University was on a quarter system. Macalester was on a semester system. So I could start school when I came back home. Wanted to get started right away. One of the other problems I ran into with all of that, my dream was to become an architect, which wasn't being taught at Macalester, but my father said, no, architects are artists and flaky.
Okay.
You're going to be an engineer.
All right.
Okay. And there wasn't much discussion about it. Realizing that I was going to have to spend money for living quarters and food and so on, I looked at that as a problem, and all problems in my life are opportunities.
Opportunity. I like
Yep.
that.
Okay, so I found a house that I fell in love with in Minneapolis, down by Loring Park, an old mansion, a 22-room house.
22-room house. Wow.
It's a 4-story tall house, and I figured out a way to buy it, and I
Okay.
did. Want me to tell the rest of the story? I moved 26 girls into the house with me. I was a bachelor and 26 young girls living in the house.
Hmm.
My friends all thought this was pretty enterprising, but they really thought it was Playboy West. Playboy Mansion was in Chicago. It was not that.
Okay.
It turned out to be a difficult experience. I didn't understand why that would happen. I knew that when you put a bunch of guys in a barracks, not much good came of it.
Okay.
Language was terrible. I learned a whole new vocabulary
Uh,
in the service, which I worked ever since to try and avoid using. With all the girls in the building, it wasn't much better.
News from the Associated Press. Chicago, a 15-year-old Chicago girl was apparently sexually assaulted by 5 or 6 men or boys on Facebook Live, and none of the roughly 40 people who watched the live video reported the attack to police, authorities said Tuesday.
Now, if you saw what's happened in Chicago, 14-year-old girl gets raped by 5 to 6 young men. You had 40 people out there watching this. Now, there should have been a unanimous decision of anonymous calls. I know everybody had a cell phone or at least 2 cell phones. Somebody should have been saying 911, 911. There should have been so many calls that the police department wouldn't be able to catch them all. Why? Because of the love. There is a breakdown of love in our cities, and we got to stand up for love. Will you stand with me? The Power of Love training is coming to your neighborhood. We need you to join us with the Power of Love training, that we can go into neighborhoods and bring about the love of Jesus that will change the hearts of many and will break the chains off the people and bring the love back into our homes, our families, our neighborhoods. If you are hearing this call and you don't answer that call and God is calling you, guess what? Their blood will be on our hands. Their blood will be on your hands. You got to hear the call and accept it. Call us 612-407-8016. Join this Power Love training, Army of Prayer Warriors, to go in and change cities for the glory of God. We need you.
Streets to the church house, came to put the work out, rapping with that word, got it locked for the block, 'cause the block getting locked up, so we got that spiritual Glock on lock, we got that rock.
I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. Here I am, here I stand. Lord, my life is in your hand. Lord, I'm longing to see your desire revealed in me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. Take my heart, take my life as a living sacrifice. All my dreams, all my plans, Lord, I place them in your hand. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away, oh Lord, you. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. Yeah, 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 yeah. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My life is not my own. To you I belong, Lord. I give myself to you. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My life is not my own. To you I belong. I give myself to you. I give myself away to you, Lord. I give myself away so you can use me. I give myself away.
One more time. Everybody. God have mercy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rain on. God have mercy. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is our worldwide Love Your Neighbor prayer campaign. So won't you join us and do the same? We pray for our families
We're about to hear another one of our fabulous love dancers. Here we go.
Yeah, I'm Johnny, and the prayer that I'm asking for today is you pray for the homeless, the sick and shut in, and most of all, pray for the addicts that out here still suffering in their addiction, wherever that may be. Thank you.
All right, you heard it. Pray and pray again, as it just said. Addicts, homeless, those sick, afflicted in the home, in the hospital. Pray for someone. This has been another fabulous Love There, Apostle Nathan, Worldwide Love Your Neighbor Prayer Campaign. God bless you.